Hey guys, so today we have a mini tea, like always. What changes? Nothing. So Instagram, Twitter, follow me in there. It's a fun time. Also, second channel in description. I post some fun stuff on there, and there'll be some more fun stuff all the time. So it's just subscribe and do all of that good
stuff.
So today we're talking about a few things. I'll see how many things I can fit in. There are a few stories that you guys have been definitely messaging me about more than others, so I'm gonna try and fit those in today, but some of them are a little more serious, so gotta mentally brace ourselves. So the first story is there are two TikTok stars that went on a trip with other two TikTok stars. So they're called Bryce Hall and Jaden Hostler. You guys know I'm not in that scene of TikTok. I'm definitely not into the e-boy movement, but if that's your thing, then great. So Bryce and Jaden went on a trip in like a tour bus kind of a thing with two of their other TikTok friends, and they went to Texas where the laws are very different to LA. So they had some substances on them that are legal in LA, but then they are not legal in Texas, mainly for the age that they all are, but they're below the age of 20, most of them. So they went there. Someone must have sent in a tip because they were posting pictures with the substances on their Instagram. So someone must have sent in a tip, because otherwise how would they get stopped? How would anyone know to search that? Unless it was just pure bad luck and coincidence, then that's fine. But I think someone must have sent in a tip, like someone that hates them, like a hater or something. I don't know. And they got caught, and obviously they searched the car, and Bryce and Jaden were both arrested for substance possession. They were then both released on bail. So apparently, this is all alleged information, but people are kind of putting two and two together. So it seems like Addison bailed out one of them, and then someone else must have bailed out the other one. No one's really sure who, but I think the bail for Bryce was about $7,000, and the bail for Jaden would have been around $10,000. Someone must have bailed them out. And that's kind of how things are right now. I think people assumed that Addison and Bryce were dating a long time ago because they're very close together. And so people are saying that it seems like she was the one that bailed him out, because then around the same time that he got bailed, she tweeted out saying that you should be like supporting your friends and that stuff. So yeah, that's the story. I'm assuming they're gonna have a court case soon to kind of deal with all of this. Actually, in the state of Texas, for the amounts of substances that they had, they could be charged anywhere between 2 and 20 years in jail, as well as a $10,000 fine. So yeah, I don't think they'll get jail time. I honestly don't think so. But I think they'll have to go to some kind of, they would have to do some community service essentially, and just kind of like right their wrongs and learn a lesson from all of this and all that stuff. I don't think they'll actually get jail time. So all you Bryce Hall and Jaden Hostler fans, don't you worry, they'll be back and safe soon. Next piece of tea is Nikocado Avocado. So Nikocado Avocado has been going crazy again. So he is allegedly like arguing with his boyfriend on the internet. So his boyfriend has his name's Oles, he's got his own channel, but now almost the channel is just used to like talk about the arguments between him and Nikocado Avocado. Like they both use each other for clickbait. They'll be like, I'm breaking up with my boyfriend, and then they film a mukbang together where they're like super happy. And then apparently Oles said that he can't order his own food, that Nikocado Avocado orders food for himself for the mukbang, and then whatever's left over like goes to Oles. So Oles basically just eats Nikocado's leftovers. They talk about emotional abuse and all that stuff, which we would all obviously feel super like sorry for Oles about, but it just seems like every time they talk about some kind of a huge situation that happens between them, they then film a super happy video together. So it just seems like the typical Nikocado stuff. It also reminds me of Trisha Paytas, which is why everyone says Nikocado is the male version of Trisha Paytas, because they both do the same thing where they'll talk about really like traumatic or not easy things to talk about, and then they act like it never happened, and they just basically use it for views. And Nikocado Avocado has, hear me out, his views have been slipping. And the thing is, a while back, he posted on his Instagram story that he was 100% deleting his channel. And it's like, I didn't believe it at the time, but he seemed super serious about it. So I was like, fine, whatever, he might be. And now, not only has he not deleted his channel, he's also just having fake arguments and fake beef with his own boyfriend. Yeah. I don't know how anyone's like okay with all of this, and who is watching all of this stuff. I don't know. Next thing is, not in my last video, but the video before that one, I spoke about Call Her Daddy and that whole situation. So let me quickly bring you guys up to speed. So Call Her Daddy is a relationship and mainly advice podcast run by, well, it used to be hosted by Alex and Sophia, who are best friends, who came up with the idea of Call Her Daddy. Well, it was mainly Alex, and then they started doing Call Her Daddy with Barstool, who they signed a 3-year contract with for $75,000, $80,000 and $100,000. plus royalties from downloads and sales of like merch and stuff. So they ended up making, Alex made just over 500k in the first year and Sophia made just under 500k in the first year, but that's due to a increase in the first year because Alex was doing most of the editing work and social media work. So they stopped uploading podcasts around April time, and people are wondering why. They're posting very like cryptic messages on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. And then we find out from Dave, who is like the main guy at Barstool, and he's basically just saying like they are ungrateful. They were going to renegotiate a contract and they're renegotiating crazy stuff. And Alex then ends up posting a video, which I spoke about, where she discusses how Sophia was clearly in it to just leave Barstool and she didn't even want to renegotiate a contract and she was doing everything to sabotage the contract and the negotiations, whereas Alex wanted to stay at Barstool and she wanted to get the IP to the podcast, which is basically just the podcast's whole identity, from the name to the branding to the like inside jokes. Everything in the IP is owned by Barstool. Well, the IP, all of that is in the IP, which is owned by Barstool. So that's kind of the basics. And Alex has now signed with Barstool for another year on her own. And I'm assuming based on her saying that this is the exact same contract as she negotiated with Dave on the rooftop, she's going to get the IP at the end of the year without Sophia, because Sophia didn't renegotiate this contract. She didn't sign it. So recently, well, Wednesday, Alex posted her first podcast episode without Sophia, and she said that, you know, this is the first time she's filmed without her and it's kind of difficult, but she is happy to be back. She also talks about how Suitman, who is Sophia's boyfriend, who is the whole mastermind behind renegotiating this contract with Sophia, and he's basically the reason why Sophia now missed out on 500k guaranteed, plus all the extra royalties, plus the IP. Like, Sophia can blame her end of her career on Suitman once her relationship goes down to shit. So Alex then talks about how Peter got in touch with Scooter Scooter, basically Justin Bieber's manager, the one that screwed over Taylor Swift allegedly, and, you know, many females in the industry allegedly, and apparently he was going to get involved with the Barstool negotiations. And Alex said that there are a lot of men right now trying to get involved in this podcast when on a regular basis they are being called sluts and hoes for having this podcast and speaking so openly about sex, and men are clearly uncomfortable a lot of the time with women speaking so openly about relationships. So the fact that now they're seeing all this like appeal in having this podcast and they are now trying to get involved and trying to get some money out of it speaks volumes. And the fact that Sophia is still kind of involved with Suitman and she's still trying to make all of that happen is crazy, instead of just coming back and admitting her wrongs and trying to sign the contract that she was originally offered at the rooftop, on the rooftop. Crazy. But yes, Alex posted her first podcast on her own, and from now on she'll be posting on her own. And she said that she will have the fans of Call Her Daddy to come on as guests, which I think is super interesting. I kind of said that she would need some guests to make this podcast interesting, but I didn't think she would use her fans, but I think that's pretty good idea. And yeah, I think the podcast was really good. It was the first podcast that I listened in full, other than the podcast filmed by Dave after all of this went down. But yeah, this is all interesting. Now, what's also funny is that they already got new pictures for the Call Her Daddy podcast, which just has Alex on the cover when it used to be Alex and Sophia. Sophia's Twitter, as of filming this video, still has the @CallHerDaddy thing in her bio on Twitter, but on Call Her Daddy it says hosted by Alexandra Cooper, presented by Honey, so it doesn't say Sophia on there anymore. And Alexandra Cooper still has host of Call Her Daddy, so, you know, all that good stuff. The next piece of tea is social distancing. So I know that in some states and in some places, social distancing is starting to not become a thing anymore. I know some states, some countries, even some cities have opened up and you can basically freely walk around. But in a lot of places, social distancing is still a thing. So people are kind of upset because there are people like James Charles who are not social distancing. So for example, he filmed his video with Trixie Mattel after the 3rd episode of Instant Influencer, where they spoke about social distancing. So it wasn't pre-filmed. It was filmed like as the episodes were coming out. So they weren't social distancing. Then James Charles met up with, was it when he met up with Charlie D'Amelio that people were saying that was during quarantine as well? And now he filmed the winning collab with Strash Me, which is Ashley, who was the winner of Instant Influencer, and he filmed the collab with her now, which is also breaking social distancing rules. So James Charles said, retweet to be the next video's sister shout out. The 50,000 winning makeup look featuring Strash Me is now live. Check it out. And then someone said, okay, are you just not social distancing like the rest of us? You said in the video you just hit 500k to Ashley, so that means this was filmed very recently. I really support you, but this is getting really frustrating. And then other people had a problem with the fact that recently Hailey Pham and and Ryan Trahan got engaged, which was fine. I don't see a problem with it. Many people did. And now they're having like their wedding series on their family channel that they have. So they went to see wedding venues right now, and people are saying like, why are you traveling during social distancing while not wearing masks and all of that stuff? So I know people are very upset with people not social distancing because it seems like there are different rules for different people and different classes of people. So, you know, like regular people have to social distance or they will get fines or they will be arrested, and then people that are like more rich or just in a different socioeconomic class have different rules essentially, which has always been the case for everything, not just social distancing, but it's always just been the way things run in the world. So next piece of tea is Charli D'Amelio. Recently I was sent this in DMs, which someone said was really sad. So Charli filmed a TikTok on like her day-to-day tasks, and she said to-do list, and she's got a to-do list, and then she has notes in the corner which say things like stay positive, reach out, smile, eat well, clean, take meds, keep head up, and don't read comments, which I think is super sad, but at the same time I think it's super productive. I think the moment you realize that no matter what you do on the internet you will get hate is the moment you can kind of take a step back and think, I won't be able to change them or their opinion on me or their view on me, but what I can change is my reaction to it. It's like I used to get super upset when people would say stuff about me, and I still kind of do, because it's like, damn, that sucks. But I think I've come to the point where I'm like, I can't change their opinion on me, and I'm not willing to change myself because I like the way I am right now. And if I change, it will be because I want to change, not because someone else wants me to change. And the only thing I can do right now is just learn to deal with it and learn to accept that people will not like me, and that is absolutely fine. So I think this is a good step for her as a 16-year-old to just be like, I will be able to deal with this. I won't read any comments. I'm going to stay positive, and I think it's just going to be great for her if she continues this up and someone makes sure that she keeps this up. She doesn't read comments. She doesn't do any of that toxic stuff, because it is just self-sabotage to read hate comments about yourself or hate forums. Like, don't do that. I don't, and I'm just such a like content person right now, because I'm like, I'm not reading what these hateful people have to say about me, and that's fine. Like, I don't have to. I'm not like forced to do so unless it's constructive criticism. There's the difference. Hear me out, right? You don't have to read hate about yourself. You really don't. But if you know that you messed up and people are pointing out that you've messed up, at that point you're going to have to address it. I'm sorry. That's just how the world works. The next piece of tea is there's this account on Instagram as well as she's on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. I really like her content. I follow her on Instagram, and her name's Supercar Blondie. She does basically car-based content on Instagram and YouTube, and she recently bought herself a Rolls Royce. Hold on, was it a Rolls Royce? Yes. Okay, so she recently bought herself a Rolls Royce, and she made it a coronavirus mask. So she said, Rolls Royce mask, I made a special mask for this guy, gotta keep the fam safe, let me show you why I bought this Rolls. And then she films this video while he's wearing the mask, and all's good and well, right? But then I knew that there were going to be comments under it. So a few people said, at least he's safe, beautiful car, ha ha ha. And someone said, I mean, nice joke, I guess. And then someone said, that's a blonde flex. People are doing the biggest protests and setting buildings on fire and killing police officers, and you're doing this. Someone else said, just think this material could have been used for making actual masks for people who don't have it, and just stuff like that. So I mean, tell me guys what you think about this. Is it insensitive? Is it just a funny joke? Is she just bringing kind of light to the whole situation? Oh, dropped my pen. Like, what's happening here? Are you guys offended? Are you guys kind of about this? Do you think it's kind of like silly, pointless, funny? Like, what is it? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but I knew right when I saw it the comments were going to be interesting. So I guess that speaks volumes that the moment I saw it I was like, oh, gotta check the comments, because otherwise I wouldn't have even bothered to. And the last piece of tea for today, which isn't tea at all, is absolutely devastating what's happening. I just say it out of like as a reflex, I say, and the next piece of tea is, but this is definitely not tea. So if you guys are more sensitive, I would suggest maybe clicking off if you guys, you know, are not into like bad family situations. So recently I've been sent a lot of DMs about a YouTuber couple and / family channel called, so they're Micah and James, who have 4 biological kids, and they adopted one boy from China who actually ended up having autism, as well as having reactive attachment disorder, which is usually brought on by neglect. And yeah, essentially, so usually kids that have been abandoned by their biological parents will end up having reactive attachment disorder because they've been neglected by their biological family. So he has reactive attachment disorder as well as autism, and as well as having, I think the adoption center in China said that he had a brain tumor, but then they didn't mention the autism as well as the reactive attachment disorder. But before they adopted him, they knew that he had these things because they went to a doctor who checked him out and said that he had in fact autism, and he probably wouldn't be able to like speak, or He, you know, wouldn't be able to like be potty trained and just things like that. So they knew what they were getting themselves into. And in one of the videos, actually, after the adoption, Mika says that all the information that the doctor told her went in one ear and out the other. So essentially what she's telling me is she took on this kid who clearly had a lot of issues, health issues, and she was told of these issues by the doctor, and then she went through with the adoption regardless, knowing that she wouldn't be able to cope. And then she almost said it as like a good enough excuse to abandon this kid now, when like she knew what she was getting herself into. Anyway, I'm not obviously an expert in adoptions and being a parent, because I'm not a parent, and being a parent to a child who has health issues. I have no clue how that feels, but I did watch a Smoky Glow video on this literally just like a few minutes ago, because it came out really just recently, and she actually just got her degree in social work, and she'll be getting her master's, I believe, in social work. So well done, Smoky Glow. But she spoke about this from the perspective of someone who has a degree in social work, and I believe her mum also is a social worker. So she kind of came at it from that angle, which I think is super helpful to have like more expertise and more, you know, stuff to say about this. So I read a lot of threads on this on Twitter as well, so I'll kind of come at this from that angle. But you know, if you want like a more in-depth explanation, Smoky Glow's video is super like informative, and I'll put it in the description as well. So there is a thread saying, so this adopt a baby from China who has autism, says she wouldn't trade him for anything in the world, which is one of the captions on her Instagram. Mistreats him but not her biological kids, and then rehomes him like he's an animal, and she thinks changing 5 kids to 4 kids in her bio is going to erase this. Yeah, so now it says mother of 4 kids in her Twitter bio. Someone else posted a screenshot from a video, which isn't confirmed because, you know, this could all be like fake, or it could be a whole different reason, but it says, hey, here's a pic of 2-year-old with his hands duct taped by his parents, Mika, and Jim, as a punishment for sucking his thumb as a coping mechanism when their older children also sucked their thumbs and were never punished. So someone said, I had no idea this woman even existed before tonight, so shout out to Particle Soup for spreading awareness. Yes, raising a child with behavioral disorders can and very likely will be extremely difficult at times, but adoption is a lifelong decision you commit to. It's supposed to be a vow to be a parent to that child no matter what, just like with biological children. That's the thing. If like she gave birth to a new kid that she just had, a new baby, and they turned out to have like huge behavioral issues, would she then just like abandon them? Or does it almost to her feel like abandoning a child that she adopted is different? Because it isn't. Like when you adopt a kid, they then become your child. You can't just like treat them the way you would a dog, just be like, oh well, I don't like it anymore, give him away. It's like, yeah, if she had given birth to a child that wasn't completely healthy, she wouldn't have abandoned them. But because it's almost like adoption, it seems like there's always a way out, when that shouldn't be your mindset going into an adoption. That child lived with them for years and they just uprooted and removed him from their life like he was nothing to them. Rehoming is something that would be extremely traumatic for any child, let alone a child on a spectrum who needs stability, as does any other child. Also, the fact that he already has a reactive attachment disorder because of neglect, and he's now been neglected for the 2nd time. Like the things that will do to his mental health, I don't even want to know. And I'm hoping that the new family that he's with is actually capable of taking care of him to the fullest of their like abilities, and they are able to kind of treat him in a way that is loving but also good for the behavioral problems that he has. Someone else says, and after a long while of dodging any questions about him, they want to make a video crying for sympathy because they willingly decided to get rid of what was supposed to be their child for life. I don't see how they deserve any sympathy. They did an absolutely despicable thing. I can only hope and pray that that sweet baby is now with a family who will probably take care of him and love him like he deserves. And that's the thing, is they didn't even tell us for months. Well, I didn't ever watch their channel, so it's not like they owed me an explanation, but they owed their fans an explanation of where this child is. They were already planning the adoption process to like rehome him, while also booking holidays to Bali and having fun and posting these vlogs. And whilst the kid was already gone, when I say that kid, that's not me being disrespectful, I just don't want to say his name as well as show his face, because I think the fact that they already showed the ins and outs of his life without his consent and put all of that on the internet, to now basically treat him as if he's this like despicable child that they can't put up with. Yeah, I don't want to take part in that. I don't want to ruin his future and have him look back on these videos and be like, that's about me. So after they already rehomed the child that they have adopted, they were going on holidays and filming vlogs and pretending like nothing was wrong. And when people were asking questions, they weren't replying. And now after all this time, they're acting like, oh well, we didn't tell you guys because of privacy for him. No, you're not telling anyone because you don't want to be attacked, but you're attacked because you did something wrong. And the fact that they pretended like everything was okay, what were they hoping, that we would just never realize that a child is missing from their house? So Daily Mail also wrote an article about this, saying YouTuber Mika Mustafa faces backlash for giving up autistic 4-year-old son she adopted from China to another family. So a YouTuber is facing backlash for giving up her autistic adopted son to another family. Micah, 33, and her husband James posted a tearful video on Tuesday saying they've decided to find a new home for their son. Her husband said that 3 years after adopting the child from China, he and his wife had discovered there were a lot more special needs than that we were not aware of. Micah, who also has 4 biological children, added, "Do I feel like a failure as a mum? Like 500%. Yeah, well, you feel like a failure because you are a failure of a mum. How dare you?" The thing is, I don't want to speak on what was happening in that household. But matter of fact is, you adopted a child that you knew you weren't able to cope with from the get-go, and you still did it because of some white savior complex that you have. You know, people that fly to like poor parts of Africa or Asia, they're usually white people who don't do it because they genuinely want to help those places. They do it because they want to like improve themselves, and they're like, oh well, this will motivate me, this will inspire me, and then they come back and they're like, I'm gonna get rid of all my t-shirts and keep a minimalistic wardrobe because I've just been inspired to live a more minimalistic lifestyle because of seeing these poor kids. It's like, how about you just help out of the goodness of your heart and not because you're trying to get something out of it or improve yourself in the process. I don't know, it's this like weird thing where people don't go with the expectation of helping communities out. They go with the expectations of being able to like take some pictures and then come back to the city that they live in and be able to tell all their friends that they did this magical thing and they did this good thing. So I think this was exactly that. They adopted a child from China with health issues because they thought that would make them look good, and it would be this aesthetic of like, wow, we did this good thing. So as much as I don't want to speak about the ins and outs of his behavior and the reasoning behind them rehoming him, what I do want to talk about is you knew how severe the behavioral issues were before you adopted him. And like you said, it was in one ear and out the other. And whose fault is that? Yours. So why is it that the boy is now suffering the consequences of your inability to listen to people? It's rude. It is so rude. I wish he didn't have to go through this, honestly. She also posted, like, the biggest video on her channel is the adoption process when he was home for the first time, and that video probably made like about $40,000, like if I had to just like take a wild gander. So, you know, she made a lot of money. Most of the big videos on her channel are centered around adoption and this child that she adopted. So she made a lot of money from him, and then she just discarded him like a toy, like equipment for a video. She also had a lot of brand deals. So for example, she posted, "This adoption hasn't been the easiest ride. We have had so many bumps along the way, but it's by far one of my favorite journeys I've ever embarked on. I love everything about this little boy and I wouldn't trade him for anything." And it was an ad. "Thank you so much for trusting me to be your mama. You are the bravest and sweetest boy I've ever met, and I'm so lucky to call you my son." Well, isn't this just depressing? They filmed this video and they basically just cried for a few minutes and basically were just like, "Oh, we feel awful, but please let's just protect his privacy and respect his privacy." Well, you didn't respect his privacy when you put his whole behavioral and health issues on the internet for millions of people to watch, and then discard him like a little toy because you couldn't be able to deal with him anymore. Knowing that he has these attachment issues because he's already been neglected once, and then you go and do that again because you were unable to logically think, are we able to take care of him? No, let's not adopt him and have someone else that can actually take care of him adopt him. But no, you had this savior complex and you were like, I don't care, I'm gonna take care of him. Oh look, I am unable to take care of him, now I will discard him after making probably hundreds of thousands of dollars from him. I am disgusted, absolutely disgusted. I don't care how bad his behavior was. You knew how severe his medical issues were when you adopted him, and that is something that you should have just taken on, or not. You know, you should have just not adopted him if you knew that you wouldn't be able to take care of it. But you know, white savior complex. Anyway, I'm angry now. If you guys are angry, then welcome. We're both on the same boat right now. If you still happen to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. That feels so awkward saying that after this, but it's just my outro. So leave a comment about anything that I spoke about. Subscribe, because I do these kind of videos more often. A lot of the times they're a lot less tough to talk about than this. They're usually just silly tea. So if that's kind of more your thing, then hit that bell and you'll be notified when that's happening. Social media links and second channel in description. I'll see you in my next one, hopefully with a less angering and frustrating story. Bye guys.